This is the moment the Trump family empire stopped being untouchable. This is the audio evidence that is rocking federal prosecutors this Wednesday afternoon. This is the legal bombshell that Ivanka Trump has feared more than any campaign scandal, any business lawsuit, any political investigation. If you walk into the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan right now, you will see a line of black SUVs stretching around the block. You will see federal agents coordinating with building security. You will see lawyers rushing through metal detectors carrying emergency briefing documents. The silence is deafening. The wheels of justice are turning faster than anyone in the Trump orbit anticipated. As of 2:34 p.m., Wednesday, February 12, 2026, secret audio recordings containing Melania Trump's unfiltered conversations were officially entered into the federal court record by Judge Catherine Polk-Failla. In that exact same filing, a bench warrant authorizing the arrest of Ivanka Trump was signed and activated. The warrant is live right now. Ivanka Trump already juggling multiple congressional investigations, already managing a labyrinth of civil fraud cases, and already watching her father face unprecedented legal exposure, has just been blindsided by the one thing she never imagined. Her stepmother's private words, recorded without authorization, now rest in the hands of federal prosecutors building a case against her. In this investigation, we are going to expose what those recordings actually reveal. We are going to trace the financial paper trail that has been quietly assembled over 16 months. We are going to dissect why Ivanka's defense strategy collapsed last Thursday. And we are going to map out exactly what happens when federal marshals execute that arrest warrant, which sources say could occur within 48 hours. The Trump family is not just facing another legal setback. They are watching their most protected secrets become government evidence, one conversation at a time. 18 months ago, back in August 2024, Melania Trump made what seemed like a smart business decision. She brought in Rebecca Chen, a former federal prosecutor with deep expertise in financial compliance and nonprofit regulations, to restructure her various charitable operations. The public announcement emphasized Melania's commitment to transparency and her desire to distance her philanthropic work from the political chaos surrounding her husband. The strategy was straightforward. After years of controversy about mixing business with politics, after endless questions about conflicts of interest, after watching her husband's brand become radioactive to mainstream donors, Melania wanted credibility. She established the Melania Trump Foundation, a complete rebranding of her previous initiatives. She promised to focus exclusively on children's education and immigrant family support. She was supposed to be creating a separate identity, a clean legacy untainted by Trump family scandals. The plan was designed to attract serious philanthropic money. It was supposed to open doors to foundation partnerships that had been closed to anyone with the Trump name. It was supposed to position Melania as a respected humanitarian, someone who transcended partisan politics. She committed to donors that this operation would be different, that it would be professional, that it would follow every regulation to the letter. But the price was not just hiring experienced staff and setting up proper accounting systems. It was giving an outsider, someone who had actually prosecuted financial crimes, unrestricted access to the Trump family's most sensitive business arrangements. It was allowing someone with no family loyalty, someone who had spent a decade putting wealthy people in prison, into conference rooms where money flowed between accounts and deals were structured. Republican donors close to the family raised quiet concerns. They warned that bringing in someone from the justice system was dangerous, that expertise matters less than absolute loyalty, that family finances should never be exposed to government-trained eyes. But Melania rejected the warnings. She wanted legitimacy. She wanted someone who could speak the language of major institutional donors who had blacklisted anything Trump-related. She wanted proof that she was doing everything correctly. Melania gambled that following proper procedures would shield her from her husband's legal nightmares. She believed that having a former prosecutor on staff would actually provide protection, that no one would dare investigate an operation run by someone who knew the law inside and out. She assumed that Rebecca Chen would be grateful for the high-profile position and would maintain absolute confidentiality. She assumed that family business discussions would stay private. She assumed wrong. At 3:47 p.m. on Thursday, February 6, 2026, Rebecca Chen entered the Southern District of New York Prosecutor's Office through the secure underground entrance. She carried a weatherproof document case containing 6 encrypted digital voice recorders, a laptop with password-protected files, and a verified external storage drive holding 847 audio files. She arrived with 3 attorneys from Sullivan and Cromwell, one of the most prestigious white-collar defense firms in America. The meeting consumed 9 hours. For the first 3 hours, absolute silence filled the conference room. Federal prosecutors Amanda Hull and Richard Nakamura sat across from Chen, reviewing the audio files through noise-canceling headphones, occasionally making notes, occasionally leaning in to consult each other. The recordings played without interruption. People who worked in the building that day described an atmosphere of controlled intensity. Chen sat motionless, maintaining eye contact with the prosecutors while her legal team whispered strategic guidance. She showed no nervousness. She showed no regret. This was a calculated legal move. The room's energy shifted dramatically around 6:15 p.m. Nakamura stood abruptly, removed his headphones, and walked to the window overlooking the city. He stood there for 2 full minutes without speaking. Then he turned back and said 7 words that would change everything. "We have enough to move forward." But this was just the beginning of Ivanka's crisis. While prosecutors were absorbing Melania's recorded conversations in Manhattan, the House Oversight Committee was simultaneously releasing 349 pages of subpoenaed financial documents showing unexplained cash transfers between Ivanka's consulting company and offshore accounts. At that exact same moment, the New York Attorney General's office was filing an expanded civil fraud complaint, adding 3 new defendants to an existing case, and Ivanka's name appeared on page 1. And most devastatingly, Deutsche Bank, which had been Ivanka's primary business lender for 12 years, issued an internal memo to all relationship managers instructing them to freeze all credit lines to any Trump-affiliated entity pending legal review. Pause. The financial markets responded immediately. Trump Media and Technology Group's stock dropped 23% in after-hours trading as news of the warrant leaked to Bloomberg terminals. On trading screens across Wall Street, analysts flagged the company as high-risk exposure. The market does not care about political loyalty. It cares about legal liability. According to documents leaked to the Washington Post, a secret emergency video conference took place at 8:30 p.m. that Thursday evening. The participants included Donald Trump's criminal defense attorney, Todd Blanche, Ivanka's personal lawyer, Clifford Robert, Jared Kushner's general counsel, and 2 representatives from the Trump Organization's board. The topic was blunt. How do we contain this before it destroys everything? The conversation, reportedly recorded by someone on the call, revealed the cold calculations happening behind closed doors. Blanche opened with a direct question. If Melania's recordings contain what we think they contain, can we claim spousal privilege? Robert responded immediately, no, she is not discussing conversations with her husband. She is discussing business transactions that Ivanka executed. There is no privilege. Someone asked about the possibility of challenging the admissibility of the recordings. Robert shut it down. If Chen recorded these with Melania's knowledge, and there is evidence she did, they are legal in New York. We have no basis to exclude them. Then came the strategic pivot that revealed everything. Kushner's counsel asked the question everyone was thinking. What is our exposure if Ivanka cooperates? The line went silent for 11 seconds. Then Blanche delivered the assessment that would fracture the family. If she cooperates fully and early, she might avoid prison time. If she fights and loses, she is looking at 7 to 12 years federal. Another voice on the call, later identified as a Trump Organization board member, made the business calculation explicit. We need to protect the company. If that means Ivanka takes a deal, we support that. The decision was forming. The family had concluded that Ivanka had become a liability. They looked at the audio evidence, which they had not yet heard but knew existed. They looked at the financial documents, which showed patterns they could not explain away. They looked at Deutsche Bank cutting them off, which signaled that the financial industry saw criminal exposure. They realized that protecting Ivanka could destroy the entire business empire. The strategic call was made. Distance the company from Ivanka. Prepare for her to become a separate legal entity. If necessary, let her make her own deal with prosecutors. This fundamentally reshapes the power structure of the Trump family business. For 2 decades, Ivanka has been positioned as the competent one, the professional face of the organization, the bridge to mainstream business relationships. She has negotiated deals that her father could not close. She has maintained relationships with bankers who refused to work with Donald Trump directly. She has been the operational core of the company's international ventures. Now she is being systematically isolated. She can no longer represent the Trump organization in negotiations. She can no longer access company bank accounts. She can no longer speak for the family in legal matters. She has gone from trusted insider to toxic defendant. By cutting off Ivanka, the family is gambling that they can contain the damage to her alone. When major financial institutions refuse to do business with someone, that sends a clear signal to prosecutors. It says, we believe this person is going to prison. When your own family's lawyers start preparing for you to cooperate against them, that creates pressure that few people can withstand. This represents a complete reversal of the traditional Trump family approach. For decades, the strategy has always been circle the wagons, attack the prosecutors, never cooperate, never admit fault. This is different. This is the Trump organization's leadership making a cold calculation that saving Ivanka is not worth losing everything else. What legal analysts call the severing moment. The moment when a criminal organization decides that one member has to be sacrificed to protect the rest. This is not about family loyalty anymore. This is about survival. The legal consequences are accelerating in multiple directions. Here is how the domino effect works. If Ivanka is arrested and chooses to fight the charges, she will need to fund her own defense, which could cost $8 million over 2 years. The Trump organization has already signaled it will not cover her legal fees for matters unrelated to her official company duties, and prosecutors will argue these were personal transactions. If she cannot afford that defense, she will be forced to consider cooperation. If she cooperates and provides testimony about business practices, that opens new criminal exposure for Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, Donald Trump Jr., and Eric Trump. If they face charges, they will point fingers at each other. A divided family cannot maintain a coordinated legal defense. International business partners are watching this carefully. Gulf state investors who poured money into Kushner's private equity fund are calculating risk. If Ivanka faces prison time, does that contaminate Jared's business relationships? Chinese government officials who approve trademarks for Ivanka's fashion business are reviewing whether those approvals create legal problems for them. A cornered defendant with recordings and documents can expose international dealings that governments on both sides want buried. The coalition that supported the Trump family business is fracturing along predictable lines. On one side, traditional Trump loyalists who believe any cooperation with prosecutors is betrayal and who will never forgive Ivanka if she testifies. On the other side, business pragmatists who understand that protecting one family member is not worth destroying the entire operation and who see cooperation as a survival strategy. A business empire divided over legal strategy cannot function. Major deals require unified decision-making. When board members are unsure whether the person they are negotiating with will be indicted next month, deals collapse. Reports from sources close to Ivanka describe someone in a state of complete isolation. She has not been seen at Mar-a-Lago in 11 days. She has not attended any family gatherings. She is not responding to messages from her siblings. She is reportedly staying at a private compound in Palm Beach County, surrounded by a rotating team of lawyers debating strategy around the clock. She keeps returning to one question that her legal team cannot answer satisfactorily. If I cooperate, what happens to my children? The answer is always variations of the same theme. Your children will be protected legally, but your family will never speak to you again. She is caught in what defense attorneys call the family member trap. Every minute she delays cooperation, prosecutors add more charges to the potential indictment. Every day she waits, the value of her cooperation decreases because they find evidence elsewhere. But the instant she agrees to testify against her family, she loses access to her children's trust funds. She loses her stake in the Trump organization. She loses relationships with everyone she has known for 40 years. The audio recordings represent far more than evidence in a legal case. They symbolize how the Trump family's addiction to documentation and self-justification created the weapons that will be used against them. Melania wanted proof that she was running a legitimate charitable operation. She ended up creating proof of systematic fraud. It represents a fundamental truth about power and secrecy. You can control what you say in public, but you cannot control what gets recorded in private. You can manage media narratives, but you cannot manipulate a federal judge reviewing audio files. The ultimate reality is this: recordings are permanent. Bank transfers leave digital trails. Grand juries do not approve arrest warrants for political theater. They approve warrants based on evidence that prosecutors can prove beyond reasonable doubt. So where does this leave everyone right now? Ivanka Trump is in Palm Beach County facing an active federal arrest warrant with a 48-hour deadline to surrender voluntarily. The Southern District of New York has weaponized Melania's own compliance efforts against the family. The grand jury has reviewed evidence that convinced them probable cause exists for arrest. Judge Faila has made clear through her rulings that she will not accept delay tactics or procedural games. Donald Trump's legal team has begun distancing his cases from Ivanka's cases. Jared Kushner has gone completely silent on all business matters. Republican megadonors are privately discussing whether continued association with Trump family businesses creates unacceptable legal risk. Ivanka faces an impossible choice. She holds the position of former senior White House advisor, someone who once had direct access to world leaders and billion-dollar business opportunities. And yet she is now the subject of a federal arrest warrant, potentially hours away from being processed into the criminal justice system by U.S. Marshals. As we move into the next 72 hours, expect increasingly desperate legal maneuvers. Ivanka's attorneys will attempt to negotiate a voluntary surrender that avoids the public spectacle of arrest. They might file emergency appeals attempting to block the warrant. They could even claim medical issues requiring hospitalization to delay enforcement. But what cannot be reversed is the evidence on those recordings. What cannot be erased is Melania's voice discussing transactions that prosecutors believe constitute crimes. What cannot be undone is the grand jury's conclusion that sufficient evidence exists to bring charges. The prosecution has the documentation it needs. The foundation of family trust is destroyed. Loyalty cannot survive when family members are creating evidence against each other. When your stepmother's foundation director becomes the government's star witness, there is no path back to normal family dynamics. Subscribe. We will be tracking federal court filings every 6 hours for the next week. If Ivanka surrenders or is taken into custody, we will provide immediate analysis of what it means for the broader investigation. If prosecutors add additional defendants, we will break down exactly who is at risk and what charges they face. This is not just another legal problem for the Trump family. This is the moment when their inner circle became evidence against them. This is the moment when self-documentation became self-destruction. This is history happening in real time. Critical dates ahead. Friday, February 14th. Ivanka's legal team must file their response to the arrest warrant or face immediate execution. Monday, February 17th, the grand jury reconvenes to consider additional indictments. By the end of next week, we will know whether Ivanka chooses cooperation, whether she chooses to fight, or whether she tries to flee. Watch carefully. The next 96 hours will determine whether the Trump family business survives this crisis or whether it collapses under the weight of its own secrets.